Hi everybody, it's Christy here and I am live with an artist. What's your name, sir?
My name is Dylan Pina. I'm 20 years old, hailing from SoCal, California.
Okay, awesome. And so Dylan's come in off the street, kind of by word of reference. He saw, I think, the Sacha Baron Cohen thing, or somebody did, and referred him in here. Knew that I like to look at artwork and talk about it. And so he's come in to show us some of his artwork. And tell us a little bit now about your background. I mean, what are your experiences? I understand you kind of had a rough life growing up, right?
Growing up, I live 5 blocks away from Rosecrans Boulevard and Long Beach Boulevard, and I live in a situation where I can't go down the street and I can't walk by myself. I can't go on a bike a couple of miles without risking getting robbed, and I found peace and coherence within my kind of everyday hustle and bustle with it, just sitting down in my garage and being able to lay out a couple of ideas that I hope to push eventually and get into everyone's minds and kind of share the realities that we all face. I'm growing up in an area where if I'm walking down the street and I'm wearing my blue Dodger hat, or if I'm wearing a blue shirt, I will get questioned. I will get asked, where are you from? What are you repping? What are you doing?
Right, that's a reality that most of us don't really deal with on a day-to-day basis.
And every single day I am driving home on Long Beach Boulevard, you know, that street that Dr. Dre raps about, that all these rap music.
Right,
That's where
it originated.
It's all where it originated. It's all, you know, it's funny because
Protest.
people don't realize how that stuff's still alive, how prostitution is still alive, how you have just
whole families
everything,
dealing drugs. I've been to places personally in Texas where you'll have families with moms and dads and children, generations selling drugs.
Yeah, you know,
and so
it's lifestyles, yeah, like that. Like I just found out recently, one of my best friends, I hadn't seen him in a year, and I knew something was off. Turns out my best friend had been addicted to methamphetamine for over a year. This is someone I went to high school with. This is someone that I've been around him since I was 15.
Okay, so you grew up in that rough environment. Obviously, it's going to inform your character, your artwork.
Yeah.
Tell us about a few of your most difficult experiences, suffering, loss. There must have been deaths near you, or people, getting in trouble. I mean, besides the guy that you just mentioned.
It's interesting. Like, I mean, every day, my city's always on the news for a police suicide. A man was walking about a block away from my house. This was a block away, walking with a gun in the air, asking for police to kill him. Just kill me. Just kill me. Just not shooting, not aiming at anyone, just aiming at the air. And I was at home with my baby brother, and it's just 30 shots were let off.
Oh my God!
30 shots were let off.
Wow. When did that happen?
This was.
I can't believe I didn't hear about it.
This was maybe half a year, maybe about a year now. He was let off 30 shots, and I mean, it was just remarkable. Just hearing that from your own house, from just hearing the sirens, and that was just one incident. I've been put in situations to where I'm 11 years old. I'm getting off the bus just to go home. Just getting off the bus. My parents never let me go off the bus. I was always raised to get picked up from school, and don't walk home. Don't do that. It's not safe. But I wanted to be grown. I took a bus home. As soon as I get off the bus, I get picked up by 2 cops following the bus, put me in handcuffs, put me on the floor, and are searching my backpack, saying, "Where are you coming from? We saw you get on here from here and so and so." I'm 11 years old.
Right.
What am I supposed to say and do? No, sir, I don't have anything. Tears going down my face. I'm 3-4 blocks away from home.
Right, that would have scarred you permanently. Absolutely.
It's,
you're going through that life, rough upbringing, traumatic events, a bad neighborhood, not a lot of good role models. You have your art. And so, at what point did you start to commit yourself fully to your art?
I started kind of right off the gate, right as soon as I was 18. I was going to college. I'm debating on what to do. Should I pursue studio art? And my father's in construction. Maybe I can strive into the interior design route. And I'm just thinking logically.
Right.
I guess logically. A safe plan. And when I was 18, I had someone come up to me and say, I really, really like your work. I really, how much do you want? And I didn't know what to say. I mean, the most I had sold my work for before then was mere 40s and 50s. And he came up to me and he's, how's 1,500? Here, take this. Pulls out his money, gives me $600. He's like, I want you to go get this started and come back to me when you're done. Didn't take my phone number, didn't take any information, didn't even want my name.
Right.
So
like a gift out of the sky.
Just go get it done. Go start. Go.
That was just a couple years ago, and so you've been kind of doing it full time, working away. And
full time.
What are you painting with usually? Are you doing canvas?
Normally I'm doing canvas. I'm not in the greatest economic state. I have $5 in my pocket to my name until my next paycheck, and with whatever money I have, I'll stop by Home Depot and I'll get the discounted paint for 50 cents, and it works. It covers it. I am an economic. I think as an artist, I think anything is a medium. I can use anything. In my aspects, buying the expensive material, which I've done, works no different than me buying any cheap 50-cent material. It's no difference. It's the quality of how you treat and react to paint.
And we've seen that before. I mean, I'm sure you saw the thing where I had the guy come in, purport to be using feces and human fluids, and everything's been done in art. In a sense, yes, we've sort of moved beyond like even medium, and pretty much just becomes a question of each individual object and its reaction with the the audience and the artist. So you've brought in a couple pieces today. How many pieces do you have like this laying around?
In my garage, I have maybe about 55 works.
So comparable to this.
Just all around the same. It's funny because they're just stacked in the garage, unappreciated. They're just there, and it's happily on my part. I happily feel introverted and kind of stuck in the school mentality of just go to school, go to work, come home. I have 2 hours to paint. If that, I'll push myself and I'll stay up from as soon as I get home till about 2 in the morning, just painting. That's my time now. That's my time. And it's so relaxing. It's
right.
Painful in the morning.
You become a medium essentially,
yeah.
And you're just doing whatever comes to you naturally and acting impulsively and organically. So you brought in these couple of works. You've got 50 something laying around in your garage. Let's take a look at the first one. So tell me about it. What do you think in here?
So in my life, I just want peace. I just want to not hear the helicopter every single night. I just want my family to not be afraid of, is someone gonna come through the gate and run through our house again? Is someone gonna be off PCP and get naked and climb my car and climb the house and put ladders around my house? It's so many situations. I can just go on and on.
Right, I get you.
It's insane.
And both, would you say now, both those sentiments, this like surrounding you, all this crazy chaos, and then your need for peace, do you think those are reflected really clearly in this painting?
I feel like most of my works reflect what I seek and what I kind of seek as peace. This is my treehouse. This is what I would build if I had a big enough tree and enough lumber to build a treehouse. And a treehouse is somewhere where you go to separate yourself from the mundane. It's where the kids go to disappear from the house, from school, and there's people who have massive tree houses nowadays, and it's just kind of this kind of separation, this separation of a collective of people, of your family, of whoever you like to kind of surround yourself and have peace around them.
So essentially, the way you see peace and the way you interpret peace, which is really something abstract and something that's in your head, but you put it down in front of us. Yeah. And then around it, would you describe this as perhaps that sort of reality, or what you're trying to get away from, all the chaos, the paint dripping, the layers, everything's obscured, it's almost threatening to fall onto this peaceful little, do we have a ladybug there?
Ladybug there. You know, it's funny because this canvas has been painted over 4 or 5 times. It has been, there's a squid in this background, or like,
Some of the architectural elements of these houses, these tree houses, they seem random on some level. I mean, they're geometric shapes. Some of them look more likely candidates for real buildings than others. I mean, here we almost seem to have a Parthenon face, you know, with the great pillars. And then up here, I mean, what is this? This almost looks like a lighthouse or something, but it's kind of weird. I mean, what do we have going on there? A light?
You know, it's funny because my background is based all on construction, and my dad's been a contractor for 20 plus years, and I've always been surrounded around building homes from the bottom up. My dad's been, back in the good times, he was building houses on San Pedro, right next to the Peace Belt, you know, overlooking the beach with peacocks jumping on the foundations from home to homes. And I've always been surrounded around these beautiful homes that kind of, I guess, I've always enjoyed, and I've always kind of like wanting to just take that creativity to homes and kind of just play with the idea of light and how much breathability homes can have. You know, there's a lot of homes that are just big boxes with small window, and that's just, what's the fun in that?
Right.
I love breathability within
Well, there's
homes.
probably a reason that whenever people think of heaven and portray heaven, it's as a palace in the sky with big, lofty, spacious corridors and, you know, enormous beams.
My idea is kind of just to push the idea of architecture and kind of just even the basis of simple shapes, because that's all everything is simple shapes. And I could go extensively into focus on a different house, but I like the dramatics with the shapes. Just
Right, they all speak, the colors, the shape, they can communicate, maybe differently to each person each time, but they definitely carry the image with them. Do you always put your paintbrush in your...
It's seriously, I have it, yeah.
That's cool, I mean, it's close to you.
One of my greatest, I guess, my influences, you know, I'm still a kid, so cartoons have always been an influence, like Avatar and like Avatar The Last Airbender, kind of like all these shows of cartoons, and kind of like how people are kind of all stacked upon each other. Even here, driving across the coastline, it almost looks like this. You can put this out on the mountainside and it looks like this. Houses stacked upon houses stacked upon houses.
And the $20 million homes often
million.
with this type of architecture.
Often, you know, your $20 million home in between.
First of all, you have to realize that there's always a gap between what's going to sell, you know, and sometimes you don't know what's going to sell. You have to take a risk. But you never know, or there's a gap between what's going to sell and what a person like myself would call beautiful art and fine art. And even myself, I'm not the most symbolic member of the art community. I mean, I've only been selling fine art for like 3 years. I've studied it though, and I've studied especially old art and the old world and the classical period, the Renaissance art, that kind of stuff. And I've looked at also a lot of modern art and studied other time periods post-Renaissance. But I would say, given what I know about your own personal life experiences and how you've translated those onto the canvas and the sort of overall effect I get from it, my initial impression pretty much coincides with yours, which is I see these homes, these buildings, these lines, these circles, these triangles, these symbols of order. And I see those amidst, as I said, this just chaos and swirl, especially knowing how many layers are behind it. And so in some ways it sort of is the juxtaposition of order and chaos. And it ties in, I think, also probably on some level with life and death. Life is kind of a state that exists amidst all these things on the margin that sort of disappear and fade away, and you can't really tell what's going to happen in the beginning or the end or anything. But do I like this work? Yeah, I mean, I think it's pretty cool. I think knowing what you put into it makes it really cool. Definitely, you're a beautiful artist. It'll be interesting to see how you evolve. You should pursue it and be true to it. And that's just based off of this one work. I haven't seen your 50 other pieces. But essentially, what you're doing for yourself with this artwork, and it's therapeutic for you, and ultimately, it would be nice to do that for other people too. That's a good start. Let's see the other work you got here. All right, so what do we got going on here besides, we got glitter and paint. I mean, what else we got going on?
This is kind of my representation of kind of the overall homeostasis kind of life and death that I see in everyday life. The glitter and the flowers represent kind of how we as humans, we're no different than the calcium in the ground or the diamonds pressed. We're no different than anything on this planet. We're all made from the same thing, and we are all going to be eventually re-encapsulate within the earth, and it's just one continuous beautiful cycle. Beautiful, scary, twisted, scary story that I just think that's so beautiful, and I want to show that, and that's kind of what I try to push for. Something a little weird, something a little uncomfortable, something beautiful at the same time.
And I can say that once again, my immediate impression of it pretty much jives with yours. Whenever I see it, absolutely the first two words that come to my mind are life and death, and it coincides nicely with the previous portrayal as well, and I suspect that this is there are certain recurrent motifs without a doubt in your artwork. But definitely I see a skeleton, which you think, okay, death. But that skeleton is first of all portrayed in flesh tones almost, to make it almost seem like life. And then you have it integrated then with all the vegetal motifs, the vegetation, the flowers, and so it seems again like life and death sort of intertwined. And once again, it all occurs in this geometrical circular shape roughly, surrounded by kind of just an ethereal sky, suspended almost like the earth as a sphere, a globe, and just sort of the vast open space. And one thing that I think your artwork raises an important point, and this returns me to the point I raised a second ago, which is art that sells versus art just a person relates to in whatever way, is that you can look around this gallery and we have a lot of different kinds of art, and that's because a lot of different people like a lot of different art. But even so, there's definitely been a sort of movement in the last X number of years to more and more abstraction. Even though we sort of live in this time period like that now, we haven't always lived in a time period like that, and we always will not live in it. Things change. There are large cycles in art, and tastes change, and trends change. And it's my guess that what you have here, which I like it, I think it's really cool. I like this piece a lot. Some artwork is just put on the wall to decorate. And it's like, oh, I have blue in there, I'm gonna have my blue couch, and then I'm gonna have an orange pillow, and there's orange in there, and yes, it works. And then there's art that speaks to people, and even colors speak to people. An abstract work of art can speak to a person.
Definitely.
But there's art that speaks to people, and there's art that speaks to people in a lot of different ways. And I would say that there's not a lot of art, though there is some, that I sell that speaks to people, and not only speaks to them, but speaks to them about life, death, suffering, loss, putting things in perspective, making sense of the world around us. And so to that extent, the fact, that I've gotten life and death out of this, and I've gotten out of that one peace and chaos, it's sort of like, it makes your art valuable in its own right, regardless of whether or not it would sell. And it also, though, I think that you sort of actually, we're on the cusp, and that we're moving into a period where there'll sort of be, and it's not like it's so clear that, oh, we're moving to abstract. There's always been like back and forth, there's figurative, there's that, I don't want to make it seem like cut and dry, but still, I think that we will move to, especially with art that's like reality art and portrays reality in different ways, eventually we're going to get to art that really communicates values to people about their own existence. It kind of tells the story, which in some ways is going to be a return to like Renaissance art, which dealt very often, although in a religious context usually, sometimes in a pagan context, but just with the bigger issues that matter. Who are we? Why are we here? Which art, in that sense, that's what makes it so important, because it's really like medicine, you know. It helps us, just like it helps you, it helps all of us collectively as people. And so your art is doing that now, even in a small way with me, but it'll always do that. And different people will interact with it in different ways. Who knows? You may put up a big mural someday somewhere that sort of communicates, maybe in your own neighborhood. Maybe you go back to your own neighborhood and you put up a mural that gives those people the same sense of life, the same sense of peace that you've given to us in these works of art, but on a much larger scale that speaks to them every day and that helps them find their way, even if it becomes a bit gentrified and you gotta go in and change it. No, you know what I'm saying? So I mean, that's what matters. I love this piece. I think it's killer. I don't know if I could sell it.
Yeah, you know.
If so, for how much? I mean, you could sell everything, but it's how much,
yeah, it's
you
how
know?
much. Yeah,
and